Was there a lot of like when you were a child in Austria, was there a lot of like individualism, or were things very like regimented? Like in America, you could you can be an individual, right? But some countries it's a little bit harder to kind of like, be an individual and have a voice. I'm just wondering, what was it like there when you were young? Did it feel like things were regimented, or it was okay to be rebellious? What was it like there?
Well, I was rebellious in a way because, think about it, soccer and track and field, they were kind of like the in sports. But when I was exposed to weightlifting and to powerlifting and to bodybuilding, I fell in love with that. And also because my heroes like Reg Park and Steve Reeves, they were doing Hercules movies, and I just started looking at those movies, right? And so I said to myself, I want to be like that. I don't want to be a top soccer player. I want to be like that. I want to have the muscles like that, and I want to get into movies like that. So that all of a sudden became my dream.
So you really wanted to be like this?
Yeah. So I was fixated. I was like kind of like concentrating that I kind of put visually my head on Reg Park's body, and I said to myself, there was a famous picture where he won the Mr. Universe contest in London in 1951. And when I saw that picture, it was like him holding the trophy and flexing his bicep.
Yeah.
And then I said to myself, can you imagine if this is me? I'm going to make this me. And so that's what I was training for. So my parents thought that it was kind of like, what is that all about? Where did that come from? And the whole neighborhood was kind of like wondering, what is this guy doing, training every day, 2 hours, 3 hours a day? I came home, and instead of having lunch, I would put my sit-up board up on the kitchen table, and I would be doing sit-ups, 500 sit-ups during lunch.
So you were addicted to it. You were
totally addicted, because I was driven by my vision. So it was always there.
Yeah.
Even when I was in school, I would sometimes just wander off when the teacher was teaching out there and writing up something on the blackboard, and I would be looking at that, and then all of a sudden he could see that I was just kind of like staring off.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he threw a chalk at my head, and I bang. And I looked back again. He says, Arnold, I'm up here. I know you're looking at the beautiful trees out there. They're more beautiful maybe than me, but you got to listen to what I'm saying here. So I noticed I was always kind of drifting off and
daydreaming,
visualizing my dreams, always visualizing my dreams, being on that stage in the Mr. Universe contest, doing maybe Hercules movies, going to America and all of that. So it was very different. So that was not the norm. So I did step out of the norm, and because everyone else was talking about, I'm going to go and get a job with the government because I want to make sure that I collect my pension when I was 65 and all this. I had no interest in any of that pension. What are we talking about now? The age of 18, we start talking about pensions. It's crazy, right? But that's the European way. Everyone looks for stability, especially in those times where government was really ruling. So then that's also, I think, an explanation of why when I came over here to America in 1968 and I saw Hubert Humphrey and Nixon campaigning.
Hubert Humphrey, who is
He was the vice president under Johnson.
Okay.
And so he was campaigning
after Kennedy?
To become, Johnson was after Kennedy. Then Hubert Humphrey was his vice president. So he was running for president.
Oh, yeah.
And so was
Looks
Nixon.
like he eats gumdrops, that guy.
And so it was really interesting when I listened to the debates, and I didn't understand maybe 3/4 of it. But I had a friend that spoke German, and he translated for me. And when I heard of what Nixon said, it was so opposite of what I grew up with, which I didn't like, where government was kind of in charge of everything.
In Austria?
In Austria, yeah, exactly. And so it was in Germany and in all those countries over there in Europe. Socialism was the system that I grew up in. So when Nixon spoke, I felt like, wow, get government off your back.
Get the government off your back.
Great. Wow. And lowering the taxes, strong military, strong police force, strong this, strong that, and a strong economy. Let the people be free. Let them shop all around the world and blah, blah, blah. I said to myself, this is like unbelievable. And Then when Humphrey spoke, it was like I was back in Austria. So then I said to myself, what are the parties here? Because I didn't understand really the parties yet.
Why? What was it about Humphreys that made it feel like you were back in Austria?
Well, I said government is the solution.
Oh, I see. So he was more like the cage.
We all know that the government is not the solution. I mean, it's like the free enterprise, the economy and all this. You got to let people be free and not be controlled by government. Government is good, but you have to find kind of the middle ground of all this stuff.
Yeah, you can't. If you rely solely on the government for your life, then you'll be a part of the government, basically.
Well, and you become a vegetable.
Yeah,
because they create the safety net, then you don't have the will to really kind of make it on your own. So what the big advantage of coming to America was that there was no safety net. So I was on my own.
Yeah.
So I had to get really creative. Okay, how can I go to school and educate myself? How can I go and get more English classes? How can I go to Santa Monica City College and at the same time work and at the same time train 5 hours a day and do all of those kind of things? So but it was up to me now to be successful, not up to the government.
Oh, I like that.
So the government was providing the opportunities and all this, the structure, but that is what I enjoyed. And so this is why I became kind of like a Nixon Republican. And people always were kind of like, especially in California, which is a much more liberal
how
state.
could you be a Republican?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed it. Nixon, of course, came from California.
Question, Arnold.
Yeah.
Was it scary to tell your parents that, to leave Austria? Did people do that at the time? I'm just a little bit curious on what it was like to say, I'm leaving here and I'm going to go to America. Was it even a popular path for people to go?
Well, remember, I started saying this when I was 10.
Ah, I see. So it had been, your parents knew it was in your head.
Yeah, exactly. So I saw a documentary, a black and white documentary in a school. They showed always those films with this 8mm, those whatever films on the little screen. And like I said, television was not the common thing at that time in Austria, so we didn't grow up with that. And but they showed the film, and I saw a documentary about America.
Yeah.
Now I see the Empire State Building. I said, wait a minute. This building is like, 100 times taller than any of the buildings in Graz, where I grew up, right?